I love a great trend. Trends are so fun to be inspired by, to incorporate into your space, but sometimes you want to create a space that's timeless. So today's video, I'm going to go over some timeless design tips for your space. I think the first point that's probably the most important to bring up is the fact that when we're thinking about a timeless space, we're probably not going to be focused on trends. It's not to say that some trendy elements might not find their way in. You know, something like marble, which is always a staple and I would say is a timeless design choice. There are versions of marble, especially right now, that are way more trendy. So things that are super bold and super out there. Think of the marbles that really do make a statement. Those are gorgeous, but they're very much on trend right now. So when you think about maybe I want to use marble, but I want it in a timeless way, we want to think of a more subdued marble or a marble-like material. Korean makes great marble countertops that you see quite a lot of that aren't true marble. And it has a lot more of soft veining with the white or a cream. You want to keep it very, very simple and classic, and that's how you'll get that longevity and that timeless design style through using something that is quote unquote on trend, but there's certain versions of it that's not so much on trend. The same would go for something like terrazzo. Super on trend, and wait, I know you're thinking, oh my god, terrazzo is just a trend thing and it's not a timeless piece, but I do not agree with that. I look at terrazzo as something that, like marble, if you select a very quiet and neutral palette and something that isn't as bold with its textures and it's kind of the size of the granules that you do see in terrazzo, that it can be extremely timeless and last for a very long time. Terrazzo's been around forever. It is a great material to work with, extremely durable. So it is something that I would say in a timeless decor space, especially for a countertop or in a bathroom, using terrazzo would be absolutely fantastic, you know, even in a tile floor situation. That being said, if you want it to be timeless, think about incorporating it with the same elements that we talked about with marble. Soft, demure, and not the beautiful, bold, very trendy terrazzo patterns that we're seeing right now. So another big factor when we're thinking about not focusing on super trendy pieces is actually thinking about how you're investing your money. So you want to think about investing in quality pieces. So a couch is a great example. Investing in a really good quality couch is going to last you the test of time if taken care of well and properly. And from an aesthetic standpoint, you want to think about those investment pieces as really not trend pieces, because that's going to help make your space A, timeless, and B, not a regret in a couple of years when perhaps, you know, a certain color or a certain look is out. So I always think with something like a big statement furniture piece to keep the line simple, clean, and the palette neutral. So when it comes to neutral, we also, for a timeless space, want to think about neutral paint colors. You probably knew this was coming. But neutral doesn't scream trend. It doesn't scream a time period. It doesn't really say, oh, that, you know, avocado green was really hot in the 70s and maybe even last year for a little bit. And, you know, whatever decade ahead of us. There are lots of colors that you can really look at and pinpoint when they were hot and when they were not. And those do come around again, but although painting is fairly inexpensive, so I do say if that's somewhere you want to splurge to do a trend, paint is a great way to do a trend. But if you are aiming for a timeless interior, or if you're trying to sell your place, let's be honest, because that's another time when you don't want too many loud colors, you want to go with the neutrals. So here are some of my favorites. Benjamin Moore has this great paint color called November Rain. I actually used it in my previous home and I really liked it, but it does depend on the light with that one. Sometimes I personally find it can pick up a tinge of green undertone. So it really depends on your light. Good lighting will be key for this to look absolutely stunning. I absolutely love the color. It was absolutely gorgeous in the space. Another one that I go to often is Abalone from Benjamin Moore. I'll put the codes somewhere up here. I like that one because it goes with everything. I have never had that color fail on me in a space. I've used it quite a bit in corporate because often we're working with logos of different colors, sometimes multicolor, and you need a good backdrop that it just won't compete with, a red or a blue or a green. And that is really important in design. So that is a great neutral tone. Another popular one on more of the white family is Chantilly lace, also a Benjamin Moore color. It is very popular for a bathroom or powder room. I find if you really want to elevate your space and have a very light color palette, that one looks wonderful. And another one that I absolutely love that I used in my son's room in this house is called Collingwood, also Benjamin Moore. I do tend to stick with the Benjamin Moore colors. I just really like them. That one is another great neutral. It does go with a lot. In his room, we have a red accent color, so I was really keen on making sure that there was no pink undertones in my neutral, and that Collingwood worked fantastic. So when it comes to decor in your space, now, even if you want a timeless design style, I do think that that's the place that you can add in a lot of fun elements with things like throw pillows or, blankets, accessories, frames, different things like that. But there are certain pieces that I do recommend actually going with that neutral theme. So think your bedding, your towels, your plates, your cups. Those are great to stick with a neutral. I personally just go with white. As much as sometimes you see all those beautiful patterns or a beautiful color and you think, oh, I'm going to bring this in, I do find for a timeless space, if you can keep a lot of your regularly used items in a white or a nice light neutral, you will get a lot more longevity out of it. I love crisp white linens and beautiful bedding. The great thing about doing whites is that they're very easy to clean because you just use bleach. And that is why hotels always have white sheets, because they are very forgiving with the right chemicals. So that's another pro, especially for like a guest suite, if you have an extra room for guests. Also for towels and different things like that. I know it seems kind of like, oh my gosh, white, it's going to get dirty, but honestly, it's great and easy to maintain with, the proper cleaning methods. So when we're talking about bringing in some of those patterns, if you do want to keep it with a neutral theme, a great way to bring in patterns is to think about classic patterns. So think about items like your plaids, your stripes, your chevrons. These are great patterns that you can bring into your space that will not only be really beautiful and add a nice depth to the aesthetic, but will still remain timeless for the long run. So for those of you that still want a bold statement, but you want something timeless, you want to think about doing black and white together. It creates a real beautiful statement piece when combined in a space, but it doesn't have a specific era. One of the great things about using a black and white interior is that you can create a lot of punches in the space, a lot of really visually interesting spaces with the use of black and white together. The juxtaposition is absolutely gorgeous, but it still is timeless, which is fantastic. Okay, let's talk about your curtains. I love me a good set of curtains, especially if I don't break the bank buying them. So here's a tip for your curtains. You want to think about incorporating pinch pleat curtains. I find you can usually tell when curtains are dated. They'll have that swag or a valance, which valances have come back a little bit with trends. But that being said, a simple classic pinch pleat curtain is the way to go in a timeless interior. And again, we want to think about natural linens, cottons, soft materials in neutral tones that will last the test of time. If you do want to use some patterns, I would say go with those classic patterns and keep it in a neutral palette, and you'll be able to bring in something a little bit more visually interesting and add a little bit more depth to the space if you use some of those patterns that we mentioned before. A way to incorporate some of your personal style and taste into your timeless space is to think about bringing in beautifully curated vintage pieces. So I'm thinking something like an armoire or a beautiful hutch, perhaps a little console table or a vintage writing desk. What I love about bringing a good vintage or antique piece is that it really still creates that personal story in your space. I think sometimes when we think of timeless design, we don't often think about still incorporating a lot of personal touches because we want to be a little bit more safe. This is where you get to add in more of that personality and still have the space be timeless and still provide some depth and something to talk about. Where did you get it? How did it come to be? Was it an heirloom? Did it get handed down? You know, all those conversations that we have. Oh, you don't have them? Just me? No, just kidding. Okay, this is a big one. If you're considering a major renovation in your space and you are looking at changing your floors, you want to think about neutral. When it comes to your floors, one of the safest bets to last the test of time, knock on wood, is a neutral mid-tone floor. So I still love a beautiful wide plank floor, something that's in a natural wood. Personally, I love a beautiful wood floor. That being said, whether you're doing wood or tile or carpet, something in a nice mid-tone and neutral that will be great for hiding dirt, of course, is a big one if you have carpeting, but also just the longevity of not being too bold on any direction of the spectrum. So when I think of a timeless space, I think of a space that also exudes luxury. I recently did a video all about how to get quiet luxury in your space, which will definitely help you guys out if that's what you're interested in. Check it out over here.